Good morning and welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder and this is BRN Weekly for Saturday, October 24th, 2020. And our top story this week, American travelers are cautiously optimistic this fall. Joining me now to discuss this and more is Jeanette Castellano-McGee of AAA. Jeanette, thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you for having me. Always happy to join you and talk a little bit about travel, gas prices, automotive, all things AAA.
Absolutely. So AAA just came out with its fall report, fall announcement on fall travel. What can you tell us? We've talked about travel during the summer, but I would think maybe some things have changed.
Yeah, a little bit has changed. Some stuff has stayed the same. People are continuing to travel, not in the volumes typically see, but that's understandable given the pandemic. But people are traveling and they remain cautiously optimistic about travel between now and the end of the year. When we talk to travelers, to Americans, 67% that have plans to travel between now and the end of the year are hopeful that they'll be able to take those trips, but also understand that there's a chance that they may have to cancel or rearrange, that they just have to be flexible. And a lot of people, they have plans to travel, but that doesn't mean that they've necessarily booked their travel. They have these plans that they want to go to, the mountains, to the beach, wherever, but a lot of them are waiting to book any of those arrangements about a week out from the day they would leave. And again, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, as just a follow-up, I mean, when we chatted during the summer, Americans were getting out on the road. Wondering if that might still continue. And also if you had any thoughts about recent gas prices, because from what I've seen anecdotally where I live, they've come down a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Traveling by car, road trips still remain the most popular form of transportation for traveling. In fact, we'll see about 80% of all trips that happen this fall happen by car. People are traveling by plane, by train. It's just that, again, that comfort level that your own vehicle provides just becomes the most popular way to travel. And again, gas prices are cheap. They remain cheap. And they've been, pretty steady. Still about 50, 60 cents less than last year, that being the national average, that difference. $2.17, that's pretty phenomenal, especially in the fall. We do always see cheaper gas prices in the fall because the winter blend that we use in the winter, the fall, is cheaper to produce than the summer blend. So you typically see a drop in prices. But we're just continuing to see those cheaper prices because demand just can't outpace supply.
And what about hotels? We talked about hoteliers and the impact to them from the pandemic, and also people that work, of course, for hotels. How have they changed, or is there a change from what we discussed in the summer?
Hotels continue to be open, some at reduced capacity, and have new protocols in place. What we recommend doing is, if you are planning to stay at a hotel, is to understand what protocols are in place. But it's not just about reading it online. We also encourage folks to either speak with a travel agent or to call the hotel directly to really understand what's happening at that particular hotel that you're staying at. Like I said, is it opened at reduced capacity? What's opened inside? Not just the exercise room or the pool, but what are your dining options? Are the restaurants opened, or is your only option in-room dining? So again, it's all about that research, calling ahead. You trust the information you find, but call ahead to verify that it's correct. For anybody traveling, whether you're going to a hotel, getting in your car, getting on a plane, a train, it's about being a responsible traveler, knowing before you go, knowing the risks of traveling, but also knowing what you can expect when you get to where you're going. Surprises are the last thing you want when you're trying to enjoy a vacation or a small getaway.
Yeah, you do not want to be scurrying around. Jeanette, what about cruises? I mean, at the height of the pandemic, I recall seeing lots of cruise ships docked. I still recall seeing them, or anecdotally have seen them on TV and whatnot in different news articles that they're docked. I mean, any sense for if there's going to be a reduced cruise where they cut the cruise in half in terms of the population to, honor social distancing rules?
Yeah, there's been, a no sail order, so there's been no cruising. And then the industry itself has been speaking among itself to put together some protocols that cruise ships will follow when they are sailing again. But the thing with people that go on cruise, you have people that love cruising, die-hard cruisers. I mean, a lot of my parents' friends, live and die by their cruises throughout the year. And a lot of that group, they continue to love cruises. They want to get back on cruises. And we continue to see people calling, speaking to travel agents, booking trips, cruises down the road. So we'll wait to see what the full protocols are, but we know that when cruising does return, there are people that are going to continue. Just like now, there are people that continue to travel by plane, by train, or their own personal transportation.
And what about, let's talk about theme parks, because every kid and adult, quite frankly, loves Disney, loves going to see Mickey and Minnie, the princesses, all the different actors. Any developments there in terms of visiting our friends at the theme parks, going on rides? Has that seen a bit more volume?
Amusement parks are open. I see on my Facebook page that people, friends of mine, are going with their children. They're definitely at a reduced capacity, so there's not nearly as many people as you would typically see at an amusement park. But again, it's about your comfort level in going to those and you making that personal decision to be there, understanding what protocols are in place, taking your mask, bringing hand sanitizers, and social distancing. We've got to continue those three things when you're traveling, especially, when you're out in a city that's, not your own.
Yeah, and in terms of getting fresh information, I know AAA does a great job. I mean, obviously you put out your research or your fall travel information, but people can get more information about where they're traveling to on the AAA website.
Yeah, lots of information on the AAA website related to travel tips, but also, of course, our AAA trip tips, which can help you navigate how to get to where you're going and provide a lot of information, not just about how to get from point A to point B when you're driving, but it also provides a lot of good information into state and local closures or guidance, things that are going on for cities that you're traveling through or cities that you're traveling to.
We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for coming on. Great update. It sounds like things are starting to percolate. I'm sure there's pent-up demand and people are thinking about the Thanksgiving holidays. Who knows what we're going to be able to do there, but the holidays coming up. So we look forward to having you back again very soon to give us more of an update. Take care of yourself and we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thanks so much.
And when we come back, we'll take a look at some of our best segments for the week. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN Weekly. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Hi folks, Joe Namath here, and if you're on Medicare, this is important. You're now entitled to eliminate copays and get dental care, dentures, eyeglasses, prescription coverage, in-home aids, unlimited transportation, and home-delivered meals, all at no additional cost. Plus, your zip code may have coverage with the Give Back benefit that adds money back to your Social Security check every month. Look, with the uncertainty of the virus and vaccines, You need to get everything you're entitled to. Here's the bottom line. Call to get significant benefits at no additional cost and see if your zip code has coverage with the Give Back benefit. Millions of people have trusted the Medicare Coverage Helpline. You can too. Call now. It's free.
Call 1-800-924-3920. That's 1-800-924-3920.
Welcome back. On Wednesday, I sat down with SIPC CEO Jeanette Wang to talk about protecting investors' accounts. Let's take a look.
So yes, SIPC is a little-known organization in spite of the fact that it's been in existence since 1970. It's a bit of an unusual organization because it's not part of the federal government, but it is created under a federal law called the Securities Investor Protection Act. And the mission of the corporation, and it's probably a good thing that we're not all that well known, because when people do hear of us, it's usually in connection with the failure of a brokerage firm. And that is exactly what we do. When a brokerage firm fails, we make sure that customers get back the cash and securities that the brokerage firm is holding for them, the cash and securities that they've entrusted to the firm, within certain limits, of course, within the limits set by statute. But that is basically SIPC's mission, to protect investors in case of a brokerage failure. And let me just add to the remarks that I made earlier, which is I said SIPC is a little bit of an unusual organization because it's not part of the government, but it is created under a federal law. And yet we have a board of directors where many different interests are represented. That is the interests of the public, the interests of the government, and the interests of the securities industry. So we have a 7-member board of directors, 5 of whom are appointed by the President of the United States and confirmed by the Senate. 3 of those 5 represent the securities industry, 2 are from the general public. But in addition, we have a director who is from the Federal Reserve, as well as a director from the US Treasury. And so there are all those different sectors and interests who are represented on our board. And yes, we are approaching SIPC's 50th anniversary. That'll be on December 30th of that year, and we're very proud of that. And we've faced many milestones along the way, many, many challenges. It is an organization that is funded not through taxpayer money, but through assessments, fees basically, that SIPC members, which are almost all registered securities broker-dealers, have to pay to SIPC. And the fund, the SIPC fund, which is used to pay, of course, our day-to-day expenses, our operating expenses, but also used to protect customers, stands today a little bit over $3 billion. And
Wow.
Our board has mandated that we move in the direction of growing that fund to $5 billion. And most of that is made up of these assessments, these fees that are paid by member broker-dealers, as well as interest and investments in the government securities that are in our fund. So yes, it's been an interesting journey. You know, when SIPC started, and I will say that just about every registered broker-dealer, securities broker-dealer, is a member of SIPC. So basically, once you become a registered broker-dealer with the SEC, you are automatically a member of SIPC. It started back in 1970 with next to nothing, and it has grown tremendously. And along the way, it's done tremendous good for the investing public. So today, we may be a little bit better known today because of the cases that we've been involved in, most recently since the 2008 financial crisis. Maybe the names of Madoff, that's one of our liquidations. Lehman Brothers is also one of ours. MF Global, and then if you go back maybe a decade or two, popularized by the movie The Wolf of Wall Street, Stratton Oakmont was also one of our cases. And I've had the very good fortune, yes, I am the CEO today, but I was formerly the general counsel of SIPC, so I have had the good fortune of being able to be a part of many of those very significant liquidations. And yes, we do work very closely, particularly with the Securities and Exchange Commission, So SIPC is, as I said, it's not a government agency. We don't have any regulatory or investigatory authority. So we have no way of knowing by ourselves when a firm is in trouble, when there are customers who are going to need our protection. And so under this statute that we administer, the statute provides, or the law provides, that it is the SEC or the self-regulatory organizations like FINRA or the stock exchanges or even state securities regulators who have to do the investigation and tell us, let us know when there is a firm that's in trouble and it will need our protection. They will be the fact finders for us. They will refer the information over to us. We evaluate the information independently and decide whether or not there are grounds to have the firm put in liquidation. And the way a liquidation starts is by one of SIPC's attorneys going to court, going into federal court, and asking a district court judge to put a firm in liquidation and to appoint a trustee to oversee or administer that bankruptcy proceeding. So once the firm is put in liquidation by the district court, it's sent over, the liquidation proceeding is sent over to the bankruptcy court. And there, it's very much like an ordinary bankruptcy proceeding, except for that special SIPC protection. And yes, one of the first things that a trustee will do will be to notify customers that a firm is in liquidation under the Securities and Investor Protection Act. And that trustee will do so by mailing claim forms and notices to customers, but also publishing in newspapers so that customers who for whatever reason don't get their mail may be notified through this publication. And it's very important because the only way a customer can be protected if he or she is owed something by the firm is by filing a claim with the trustee.
And on Thursday, I sat down with Weiser's Cindy Hounsell to discuss how women are faring during the pandemic. Let's take a look.
Well, I mean, I think it's obviously gotten worse because so many women are worried about their finances, don't have emergency funds, haven't maybe saved enough because, in the beginning of if they have small children at home, they're likely to be saving for those children, rather than their own future retirement. And so, the research sort of shows that women at younger ages, are not like jumping in and saving more. Then I keep saying, we need to show the young women the poverty statistics at age 80 to 85. And maybe that would be a motivator, to make people start paying attention earlier. But I think, I see, everybody's doing surveys about a lot of different aspects of the effects of the pandemic. But I see that 70% of women want to go back to work, you know what I mean? Even though you read these other articles saying like they'll never be able to go back to work for a long time because, of the childcare or, if the pandemic doesn't, begin to sort of take a better turn in the near future. So I think, women who want their careers still want their careers, have always wanted their careers. And, we need to fix those other pieces that make it a little bit easier. So the other thing being here in Washington, D.C., based in Washington, there's been so much talk about paid family leave. People, that's on the minds of a lot of women.
Yep.
Why can't they get paid family leave for certain things, right? And if they have children. And so that's one aspect of it. And then there's the caregivers, a lot of these same women that are taking care of their children are also sandwich generation. And so they're helping maybe parents or grandparents or, it probably seems to so many of these women that it just never ends and there aren't enough in the day. The one thing that just, always sticks in my mind, and because I speak at a lot of conferences and also a lot of places where there are, modest income women. I mean, just average women, maybe a family of four earning $50,000 and family of four earning 50 if you live in a city, doesn't make you a millionaire for sure. And it makes it difficult, to save and to pay for childcare, all the things that you have to pay for. But you talk to the audience and you ask them how many, have a retirement plan at work, and many of them don't for whatever reasons. And then, how many are doing anything else and they're not doing something else? But I think part of that goes back to that it's difficult, and the industry hasn't figured this out yet, that people want it to be easy. Just tell me where to go and what to do. Like, give me the address. There's no mutual fund address. People, when I ask a lot of times in these sessions, I'll name 3 of the top, record keepers, and I'm not going to name them here, but we all kind of know them, right? If you're
Sure.
industry. And so what people they won't know that. They don't know. And so when I tell people in the industry, they say, oh, well, they don't watch enough football. That's where we advertise, right? So
Yeah.
it's another way that women just sort of leave themselves out of the discussion, or knowing, well, this is how I go and I set up an IRA account because I don't have one. My husband may have one, but lots of things can happen. We both need one, or I need an IRA, a spousal IRA. I need to be doing something from the time and not be putting all my eggs in someone else's basket, because we're in too precarious a world for that to happen. I mean, things happen. You look at the statistics and, the story is there. And I'll tell you, I've been working on this issue for a long time. And what sort of got me into the whole thing was that I had a frozen defined benefit plan that was one of the first frozen back in the 80s. And nobody could explain to me what that meant. People at the company really didn't understand it. I mean, it all just sounded like somebody was given some talking points and, but nobody really knew what that meant. Finally, someone said to me, what it means is, you need to look for another job. You're young enough to have a second career. And, long story short, I ended up coming to Washington on a fellowship. And this issue just fascinated me, because then I realized I'm going to be one of those poor statistics. I'm not doing anything. I just got divorced. I just changed careers, and so it sort of, I don't know, it sort of prompted this passion in me to be telling other women, we have to take care of ourselves, stop just doing everything for everybody else. Take a minute and think about what you're going to do.
Well, great segments. I want to thank all of our contributors this week. And that wraps up this episode of BRN Weekly. Have a topic of interest or someone you think we should talk to? Drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the news in retirement, markets, technology, personal finance, so much more, check out our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. Don't forget, we're back again tomorrow for our weekly show, BRN Sunday. I'll be joined by members of the media, academia, and financial services as we analyze all the news this week in retirement, markets, technology, so much more. You're not going to want to miss it. So until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Are you being audited and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will work with you using our years of experience to represent your case to help you get the best resolution under the IRS guidelines. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. We've handled thousands of cases, so we know what we're doing. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a Tax Doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Call 800-224-6439.